Mary Beth era una mujer llena de vida, asistente dental e instructora de aeróbicos.
Mary Beth was going through life 100 miles an hour. I mean, she was working. She always led a very active lifestyle. She was working out after work. And Mary Beth was in great health.
Repentinamente, Mary Beth cayó víctima de una devastadora apoplejía. La ayuda que recibió provino de algo inesperado.
She was very fortunate to survive the stroke at all. And I just remember her eyes, looking at her eyes, and they would just go around in circles. And just looking at Mary Beth at that point, you just never, ever would imagine that she would be in the condition that she's in today.
I don't think anybody would choose to have pig cells injected in their head, but if you've been where I've been for the past 5 years, you'll look for anything to help.
¿Será este nuevo tipo de trasplante entre especies distintas o xenotrasplantes un nuevo capítulo en las relaciones entre las especies?
This is an animal that's at full size. This animal weighs on the order of 200 pounds. He would be a very appropriate donor for a heart for you or for me.
What separates xenotransplantation from just a surgeon and a patient taking a risk is the possibility of transmission of diseases. And unlike the AIDS virus, for instance, for comparison, if it killed people not in 10 years, but killed people within 10 days and brought a plague or a scourge upon mankind.
La naturaleza de las cosas, con David Suzuki. Xenotrasplantes.
I'm laying there in the hospital bed thinking, this isn't happening. I mean, in fact, I got out of bed when they told me not to, and I fell to the floor because I didn't realize that I didn't have a left side. But I knew what I had to do. I couldn't give up. I had to keep going.
La increíble tenacidad de Mary Beth la ha ayudado a soportar 5 años de intensa terapia. Pero con el tiempo llegó al límite. Su habilidad para hablar y moverse no iba a mejorar más. Luego escuchó un rumor sobre una nueva y tal vez peligrosa terapia experimental. Mary Beth se sometería a un trasplante entre especies distintas, el llamado xenotrasplante. Las células cerebrales de un feto de cerdo serían inyectadas en el área dañada de su cerebro.
The cells come from an embryonic pig, and the cells are from a part of the brain called the putamen or the striatum. So we were looking for a patient who had an area of damage in the striatum in that area, so the cells would be the same type of cells, who didn't have too much damage elsewhere.
They shaved a little patch on my head and they drill a hole the size of a nickel in my skull. They put a needle in that hole and then they eject 30 million cells.
Se espera que estas células fetales de cerdo se adapten a su nuevo entorno y regeneren las conexiones que fueron dañadas por la apoplejía.
23 hours after surgery, after being admitted into the hospital, I was on the street having a coffee and a sandwich with my husband. No one knew I had brain surgery. I wanted them to hang a sign around my neck. Leave her alone. She just had brain surgery. It was just like walking out of a science fiction movie.
El xenotrasplante de Mary Beth es un procedimiento experimental. Sus resultados aún son muy preliminares. Nuestro modesto amigo del establo parece ser un héroe improbable, tal vez hasta renuente. Pero puede que le haya devuelto la vida a Mary Beth. ¿Podrá hacer lo mismo por otros pacientes que esperan por un trasplante? ¿Pueden los órganos completos de otras especies, y no solo sus células, ser tomadas de una especie y utilizadas en otra como la nuestra? Incluso el trasplante entre individuos de una misma especie, de humano a humano, es una posibilidad relativamente nueva. Hace solo algunas décadas era un experimento sumamente controvertido. Los pioneros en este campo no podían más que soñar con que algún día se convirtiera en un tratamiento médico de rutina.
I think I can speak for all surgeons and all people who, like myself, work in laboratories when I say that our ultimate ambition is that transplantation methods should be received into the perfectly ordinary repertoire of surgical practice. That one day the transplantation of a heart will not only not be front-page news, it won't be news at all.
Después de solo unas décadas, el sueño de Medawar se ha hecho realidad. Hoy en día, para cirujanos como el Dr. Wall en London, Ontario, el trasplante entre humanos es un procedimiento médico rutinario.
Thousands upon thousands of lives have been saved as a result of organ transplantation. And we know now that 80% to 90% of recipients who receive kidney grafts, liver, heart grafts, survive, and not only survive, but they're restored to full and active and productive lives in the community.
I was waiting on a double lung transplant, and I got it on November 16th.
November 16th, that's only a few weeks ago.
Yep.
How are you feeling?
Really good. I don't have to wear oxygen anymore or take medicine. Only thing I gotta take now is pills, which doesn't really bother me.
Matty had a hole in his bowel and he was having severe liver failure, and they didn't think that he would make it actually through it. The only hope for him would be a transplant. And it was determined that my liver was exactly the shape required to take one lobe of it and implant it into Matty, which is what happened.
I had a heart transplant on November the 3rd, and if I keep listening to what I'm being told and keep doing what I'm told to do, I'm going to have a long life ahead of me. And I have 2 children at home, an 8-year-old and a 9-year-old son and daughter, and I have everything to live for.
No hace mucho tiempo, los sobrevivientes de trasplantes eran criaturas extrañas. En la actualidad, es normal que dicha cirugía funcione. El cirujano Roy Kelm es uno de los pioneros que hizo de la cirugía de trasplante una herramienta médica práctica. Es además un pintor cuyo trabajo abarca temas tan diversos como un tigre en la selva y la historia de estos sobrecogedores avances médicos. El cirujano Kelm se convirtió en Sir Roy en reconocimiento a una vida de contribuciones a la medicina. En sus comienzos como cirujano, la mayoría de estos procedimientos fallaba porque el cuerpo se rehusaba a aceptar el nuevo órgano.
So I had a little bit of a story of transplantation at a difficult phase, which is now becoming so routine that I think the young surgeons learning now wonder why we had so much trouble.
Sir Roy ayudó a convertir la cirugía de trasplante en algo práctico, al demostrar el hecho improbable de que el hongo del suelo podía ser la clave para superar el problema del rechazo, la tendencia del cuerpo a tratar al órgano nuevo como el objeto foráneo que es.
It was the discovery of the cyclosporin molecule in 1976 by Jean Burrell, and Sir Roy Kahn's triumphant demonstration of the effectiveness of that drug in controlling rejection that really changed the face of organ transplantation worldwide. And there was an enormous impact and good results obtained as a result of that. And what was previously not possible not only became possible, but in transplantation it became routine. She had an emergency liver transplant about a month ago, but she developed acute rejection of the liver, which we could not control with our current immunosuppressive drugs. That's very rare today. The drugs are so good to manage rejection that we rarely see an irreversible rejection of the liver, but occasionally it does occur. Long, heavy scissors. You see on the tracing up there, her blood pressure is still well maintained. Good. So that liver's about 2 times normal size. It's all blunted. You see how rounded it is? That's typical of a swollen, rejected liver.
Okay.
You see how much smaller this liver was than the other one, and how beautiful color it is. Nice walnut brown color. Looks absolutely perfect. So we've got about 30 minutes to sew this thing in and restore its blood supply before it gets to be about 10 degrees centigrade. And when it's above 10 degrees centigrade, it starts to want oxygen.
I have a dilated cardiomyopathy, which is a heart enlargement. And it got to the point where it could not be treated with medication anymore. So my only option was to come here for a heart assessment and ultimately a heart transplant. And I haven't been able to do a lot of things since I was diagnosed with the problem. And over time, it's gotten worse, and it's been difficult. But I sure look forward to the day where I can go out and enjoy myself again.
Para pacientes como Liam, que de otro modo sería un individuo sano, un corazón nuevo significaría una nueva vida. La escasez de órganos los ubica a todos bajo las reglas de la rigurosa ley de selección, el difícil proceso de decidir quién recibe el órgano y quién morirá.
Patients on the waiting list see other people on the waiting list dying, waiting for an organ, and there is enormous pressure and interest and a wish that we could transplant organs from animals to man.
Ultimately, we must work towards the use of grafts transplanted from one species to another, from chimpanzee to man, conceivably from sheep to man. So we're on the threshold of a very important new discovery.
Anticipándose a esta escasez, los pioneros de la cirugía de trasplante intentaron realizar xenotrasplantes utilizando otras especies de animales como donantes de órganos. Pero el problema del rechazo se magnificó enormemente en estos experimentos entre especies diferentes.
When an organ is taken and transplanted between widely disparate species, usually, but not always, there is a violent immunological reaction and the blood vessels just explode and the organ doesn't work at all. That's called hyperacute rejection.
Capturado por cámaras de televisión y transmitido a todo el mundo, fue uno de esos momentos que definen una generación. Los xenotrasplantes atraparon la imaginación del público en 1984, cuando un caso particular hizo historia. La pequeña Faye, nacida con un corazón defectuoso, recibió un trasplante de un mandril. Fue un procedimiento altamente controvertido que pronto terminó en tragedia. La pequeña Faye murió, no por el corazón de mandril que latía en su pecho, sino por las grandes dosis de ciclosporina que evitaban que su cuerpo rechazara dicho corazón. La mayoría de los primeros intentos de xenotrasplantes utilizaron órganos de nuestros parientes más cercanos en la cadena evolutiva. Esto presentaba una serie de problemas tanto médicos como éticos. El doctor Christian Barnard realizó el primer trasplante exitoso de un corazón humano. También fue el pionero en el uso de xenoinjertos.
If we can control rejection adequately, there is no reason that the hearts of animals cannot use for transplantation. And I want to qualify that statement by pointing out to you that I don't mean the use of the hearts of animals such as the chimpanzee. I mean we should advance to the stage where we can animals like the animals that are being slaughtered every day, goats and pigs and calves.
Because you yourself tried to transplant a chimpanzee heart in 1977.
I tried it, and that's why I know how emotionally traumatic this can be. I would never use the heart of a chimpanzee again.
There's been a swing of opinion, not shared by everybody, but by the majority, that one should go for a species which is more convenient and less likely to cause ethical worries, namely the pig.
Esto podría significar que sentimos menos escrúpulos al sacrificar estas criaturas. Pero también existen otras ventajas. Sabemos mucho acerca de la cría de cerdos, y estos paren en grandes cantidades. Esto significaría una constante y mucho más económica fuente de órganos que podrían hacerse crecer hasta el tamaño adecuado. También existe el beneficio adicional de que la distancia evolutiva entre ellos y nosotros implica que hay menos riesgos de infecciones entre las especies. Mientras que el uso de cerdos podría resolver el problema de la disponibilidad, no resolverá el problema del rechazo. Haría falta otro tipo de avance científico para hacer de los xenotrasplantes algo factible.
It wasn't really until the last half of the 1980s that laboratories such as my own said there's a good reason to again go back to xenotransplantation, because the pioneers in the 60s and 70s did not have the modern tools of what we call genetic engineering, of understanding the genes in our cells, of understanding the function, and above all else, of being able to take a gene that's responsible for a given trait, and move it from one animal to another. In our case, we thought maybe we needed to put some human genes into the pigs, where those human genes would act to prevent things that would lead to rejection of the pig organ were we ever to transplant it to a human.
Nuestras nuevas tecnologías nos permiten criar cerdos cuyos órganos tienen ADN humano. Es una solución audaz que simplificaría el problema del rechazo al engañar al cuerpo haciéndolo creer que las células de cerdo son células humanas.
Of course, you can't just engineer the pig and go straight and transplant a heart into a patient. You have obviously got to test whether your hypothesis works. And we have been doing this by transplanting hearts and kidneys from our transgenic, our molecularly changed pigs, into monkeys. And we've demonstrated that this hyperacute rejection reaction can be overcome by our little genetic trick. And we're currently developing the immunosuppressive protocols that will be safe for man and give long-term survival of these organs.
The fact that she's rejected one liver transplant doesn't mean she's any more likely to reject the second one than anyone would the first time around. I shouldn't jinx ourselves. When these clamps come off, a lot of things can go wrong, even under controlled situations.
Agregar genes humanos a los órganos de cerdo es una prometedora posibilidad para la evasión del rechazo hiperagudo. Otra posibilidad sería alterar al paciente y no al cerdo.
Ever since anybody was interested in organ transplantation, there's been a holy grail that we've sought, which is called tolerance. And the idea was first put about by Peter Medawar, who got the Nobel Prize for the work he did in it, in which an animal is made to, or is persuaded, that a foreign tissue from another animal of the same species is its own.
It's even true, you know, that you can't remove a scale from one goldfish and transplant it to another goldfish and expect it to survive. In other words, there is this kind of inbuilt diversity, even among goldfish, and the same would be true of lizards, birds, mice, so forth, the same kind of inbuilt incompatibility as there is between human beings. So it isn't a distinction of our own, this very fine-grained diversity between individuals, of which one symptom is the fact that one can't transplant organs freely between different individuals.
Medawar tomó células de un ratón blanco y las inyectó en un ratón café recién nacido. Una vez que el ratón café había madurado, Medawar le injertó un pedazo de piel del ratón blanco. En lugar de rechazar el pedazo de piel por ser algo foráneo, el ratón café lo aceptó como si fuese propio sin ningún problema. Medawar fue más allá y con el tiempo tuvo éxito al producir tolerancia hasta tal punto que logró que un ratón aceptara un pedazo de piel humana como propio.
So the question is, could that happen in man? Well, it does happen in man regularly in a bone marrow transplant. Every patient who has successful bone marrow transplant is tolerant, And that has been demonstrated very graphically in 3 cases at least, where the patient has needed a kidney transplant and has had a kidney from the same donor and not required any drugs.
En la actualidad, David Sachs trabaja en ampliar el trabajo de Medawar sobre tolerancia.
This animal is about an intermediate size for a miniature swine. They actually get up to the same size as human beings. Would you like to see one of the animals that's at full size? Follow me over here.
No se trata de cerdos ordinarios. Estos puercos miniatura han sido criados para ser idénticos entre sí, y su tamaño hace que sus órganos sean adecuados para ser utilizados por pacientes humanos.
This animal weighs on the order of 200 pounds. He would be a very appropriate donor for a heart for you or for me. They're very gentle animals, very nice animals to work with.
La esperanza del Dr. Sachs es que al ser inyectado con material genético de cerdo, el sistema inmunológico del paciente humano sea instado a aceptar los órganos de cerdo como propios.
We have bred lines of pigs which are genetically identical one to the next. And that makes it possible to consider therapy in which one would induce tolerance by using the cells or the genes from one animal and then bring in a transplanted organ from another, and the immune system would treat it just the same.
Fritz Bach dirige un laboratorio que lleva años desarrollando técnicas para superar los problemas relacionados con el rechazo de xenotejidos. Se apresura a aclarar que, aunque estamos adquiriendo conocimientos, estamos muy lejos de tener todas las respuestas que necesitamos.
We have probably overcome hyperacute rejection. There's more we can do, but we have overcome that. But we now have another problem. Again, a problem we don't ordinarily see in transplanting a human organ to another human. And that new problem, that new kind of rejection, we refer to as delayed xenograft rejection. It occurs on day 3 or 4. Others refer to as acute vascular rejection. But it's one and the same phenomenon. And again, I think we're gaining the kind of insights, the kind of knowledge, and have the ideas. And when I say we, I certainly mean people in my laboratory. We're working ardently on this, trying to develop the knowledge that we can move forward in xenotransplantation. But we are developing not only the knowledge, but also the therapeutic approaches that many of us think might help us overcome this second phase of rejection.
We're going to put a little cannula in this vein in a moment.
El problema del rechazo podría ser superado por una mezcla de drogas, ingeniería genética del donante y la inducción de tolerancia en el paciente. Pero eso aún nos dejaría con muchos problemas por superar y muchas preguntas por responder.
Here, and I see it becoming a nice pinkish red color. We've restored the blood flow to it. Now we're going to just clamp it temporarily while we put a stitch here.
Nada ilustra los límites de nuestra sabiduría o la audacia de esta aventura como el hecho de que aún no sabemos si un órgano de animal podrá hacer el trabajo.
We know many examples where the human molecule does not work in the pig or the pig molecule does not work in the human. So even if we can get over the barrier of rejection, we have this additional physiological barrier. There are people who think that for many reasons, the organ just won't function, in addition to the molecular incompatibilities. We're not going to know an answer to that until we have reached that point and can really try it.
Hey, Mr. Costa, how are you feeling today?
Oh, pretty good.
I saw you up and walking in the hallway. How is that going?
Good, good.
Yeah?
Feel good when I'm upright, yeah.
Yeah.
El corazón del señor Costa está enfermo. Mientras espera por un trasplante, se encuentra conectado a una máquina que hace el trabajo que en condiciones normales haría el lado izquierdo de su corazón.
And so we're waiting for a call, the call.
The call.
Yeah, the call, and as soon as we know, you'll know. And hopefully it won't be too much longer.
Okay, thanks for stopping by.
Yeah. Mr. Costa, as you can see, is a young man, and he's on this machine until a heart becomes available for transplantation. And if we had an endless supply of hearts, he wouldn't have no need for the machine, and he'd have a heart transplant right now. what we're trying to do is to address the shortage of human hearts by bringing into the mix the potential for pig hearts.
El Dr. Madsen es un cirujano y a la vez un investigador que explora los posibles beneficios de los xenotrasplantes. Es una combinación que lo hace muy sensible a lo que estos avances tecnológicos significan para sus pacientes.
When I'm operating on animals in the experimental laboratory situation, there is a feeling of impatience and frustration due to the fact that I think we're so close to bringing what we know works in the lab to the bedside. And I feel that every day we're on the cusp of really doing some major good for patients.
Would you like to sign the national petitions against cruelty to animals?
No todos creen en los beneficios de los xenotrasplantes.
Please sign the petitions to end the suffering of animals in British laboratories.
Algunos se oponen porque les parece que no tenemos derecho a utilizar otras especies de esta manera.
Already, xenotransplantation research has consumed the lives of thousands of animals, and not just the ordinary laboratory species that people think of, the rats, the mice, the hamsters, but also dogs, monkeys, chimpanzees, tigers, wolves, dingoes, goats, sheep, cows. All those animals have been used to understand the immune system, to develop the techniques of transplanting organs from one species to another species. The level of suffering of those many thousands of animals over many years is almost indescribable.
In a previous attack, a bomb caused extensive damage at Bristol University. And the police say anyone...
El debate sobre la investigación de xenotrasplantes promete ser cada vez más intenso. Los sentimientos sobre los derechos de los animales son muy profundos. En varias ocasiones, esos sentimientos se han traducido en amenazas y acciones violentas contra laboratorios, investigadores e incluso inocentes.
That this bomb was meant to kill, and this little child very nearly died. We've got a very real fear that unless we catch the bombers, somebody is going to die with bombs in the future.
Everyone is entitled to their view about animal rights and so forth, but I think the majority of people who understand that animals are sacrificed by the tens of thousands in North America every week so that we can have bacon at breakfast are not going to raise a strong objection to raising some animals to save human lives.
El Dr. Wall podría tener razón en que una sociedad que se alimenta de tocino y huevos no se preocupará demasiado por el uso médico de cerdos. Pero muchos se preocuparán por el uso que le estamos dando a los pocos dólares destinados a la salud.
We're heading for a procedure that's a high-tech procedure. Transplantation in general is very costly, and we're adding to that because hopefully we'll be able to transplant many more people. I don't think anybody has come out with a careful analysis. This is an ethical issue. Do you spend money on operations that may cost $250,000 per patient when there are kids starving because there's not enough food or dirty water supplies? I mean, these are issues that should be addressed.
Xenotransplantation could seriously damage your health.
Existen otros aspectos de este debate que son más urgentes y más aterradores.
We're talking about taking the organ from a pig and plunging that organ right into the center of the human body, plumbing it into the blood supply. This is a perfect situation for an animal virus which may have been silent to reactivate or to recombine with genes in the human body to form a new virus.
La idea de que los cerdos transmitan enfermedades a la gente no es de ningún modo descabellada. Estudios muestran que los cerdos son una pieza clave en la incubación de nuevas epidemias de influenza. También son transmisores de otros virus menos conocidos, como uno mortal que apareció repentinamente en Malasia en 1999. Comenzó con algunas muertes inexplicables y luego se propagó, poniendo en peligro todas las granjas porcinas de Malasia. De pronto, el virus pasó de los cerdos a las personas, y a los pocos días, cientos murieron. El ejército fue convocado y piaras enteras fueron destruidas en un intento por detener esta nueva plaga, el virus Nipah. Se presentan algunas preguntas aterradoras. ¿Qué tan serios son estos riesgos? ¿Qué significan para nosotros? ¿Tenemos la capacidad para lidiar con infecciones masivas de virus como esta? Al virólogo Robin Wise le preocupan menos los virus que conocemos que aquellos que apenas sospechamos que existen.
The virus seems to be growing well. These are human RD cells, aren't they?
Wise ya ha descubierto algunos datos inquietantes.
If we're going to use pigs to transplant hearts or kidneys, we're not going to go to Malaysia and take pigs infected with the new Nipah virus that we know transmits to humans and kills them. That would be out of the question. Any pigs that are used for transplantation are going to be kept in high containment and specially bred. And one will try and eliminate as many viruses as possible. Now, there's two problems with that. The viruses that haven't yet been discovered, but might nonetheless be lurking in those pigs, because you can't screen for something you don't know about, and the viruses that you cannot eliminate. These porcine endogenous retroviruses, or PERVs for short, because they're embedded in the chromosomes, can't be eliminated by clean animal husbandry.
Pig organs, pig cells, pig genetic material carries viral sequences, carries the genes for viruses, some of them known as retroviruses. We don't know what other infectious particles. There's the possibility, which everybody agrees to, that if you were to transplant a pig organ into a human, eventually one of these pig viruses might get into the human cells, might mutate, might change genetically, and behave like other viruses, that it could be passaged from that human patient, the pig virus now, but changed in some way to other humans, raising the possibility that the virus could spread to the general population.
Wise estremeció al mundo de la xenoinvestigación cuando demostró que el riesgo era una realidad. Estos virus pueden activarse en sus huéspedes humanos.
We found indeed that there were 3 strains, and 2 of those 3 strains would grow in human cells. And that's what set the alarm bells ringing.
Pero tenemos una larga y enmarañada historia con los cerdos. Durante miles de años los hemos criado, matado, procesado y comido. Hasta su piel ha sido utilizada para cubrir tejido humano seriamente quemado, con la esperanza de que lo proteja y sane. Si existiera algún virus por contraer, ¿acaso ya no lo sabríamos? La escasez de drogas en Rusia implicó que en ocasiones órganos de cerdo fueran conectados a las personas para filtrar los fluidos corporales del paciente. Rara vez utilizada en el occidente, es una práctica que aquí se ha hecho relativamente común. Si queremos saber cuáles son las posibilidades de que estos virus nos infecten, podríamos encontrar alguna evidencia en la sangre de los pacientes que han sido sometidos a estos procedimientos y otros similares. En su esfuerzo por lograr que el gobierno aprobara pruebas clínicas, Immutran, compañía propiedad del gigante farmacéutico Novartis, recopiló exactamente ese tipo de información en todo el mundo. Cass Parody lideró los esfuerzos de Immutran.
No problem, we'll get that done.
Okay,
Okay,
thanks. In the 160 patients that we tested, we didn't find any of these to be positive. What we did find, though, is that there were some patients, and they were all the Russian patients, that had pig cells that were still circulating in their body, and they were circulating for up to 8.5 years after they'd had their procedure. And even though they had pig cells for such a long time, and each pig cell contains the DNA, which is potentially a virus, none of these patients showed any clinical symptoms or any sign of infection.
Robin Weiss está entre quienes piensan que el estudio, aunque importante, está incompleto.
The limitations of the survey of people already exposed to pig tissues is that most of them were not immunosuppressed. And of course, xenotransplant recipients will be heavily immune suppressed. Now, we do know that all sorts of latent infections come up and cause disease in immune suppressed individuals. Whether it's people who've had, say, human mismatched, unmatched kidney transplants, or whether it's people with HIV infection, where the HIV's causing the immunological damage, and then they become open to other infections. And this includes animal infections. We know that HIV-1, the virus that's causing the main pandemic in the world, probably came from chimpanzees who naturally harbour a similar virus. So here we have an animal-to-human infectious event, or zoonosis as we call it in technical terms, but one that then spread from human to human and has now infected over 50 million people and caused more than 14 million deaths. That's the scenario we wish to avoid in xenotransplantation. The risk is vanishingly small, but we can't say that it's zero.
Nuestros mitos y leyendas nos dicen que es peligroso si se cruzan las fronteras que separan al ser humano de otras criaturas. Es aquí, en esta zona prohibida, donde nacen los dioses y los monstruos. Aquí se nublan las definiciones y se pierden las identidades. La atracción y la repulsión, las fuertes emociones que rodean a estos míticos apareamientos, se reflejan en este debate moderno.
People who've had organs from animals put inside them have been shown to have cells from those animals in every tissue that's been looked at. And this is called chimerism, and it means that the patient is effectively a chimera, a human pig chimera. And I think that that would have profound psychological implications for people.
There may be some difficulties with identity. In fact, we have been through this with human-to-human transplantation. Take heart transplants. As a biologist, I may think of the heart as a pumping station. But we know that throughout human history, we've thought of the heart as more. The heart as a seat of emotions, and all the metaphors of the heart are there. So I think if we are concerned about this loss of human identity, we could look first at the many hundreds of people who've had heart transplants from other humans. Do they feel a loss of their individual identity? How do they feel about having someone else's heart, the heart from a dead person, inside them? By and large, it's been acceptable. But if we inquired a bit more about their feelings, it might give us some inkling of how it would feel to have pig tissues inside you.
They do foresee me getting out of this brace at some point in my life, and that's all I need to hear to keep trying.
Mary Beth tomó la opción que para ella tuvo sentido. Cualquiera de nosotros habría tomado la misma decisión por las mismas razones. Solo pregúntele a alguien que haya estado allí.
I'd be willing to try it, yeah. Provided that, you know, they could guarantee me or, you know, almost assure me that I was going to have, like I said, the normal life again, the quality of life that I want to have. I'd go for it.
I would have tried anything. To stay alive. Like I said, I have 2 kids at home, a girl and a boy, and that's my world.
You know, I just feel that, you know, while there's life, there's hope, and you know, if that helps save our children and our people, then terrific.
I would have done it, no doubt, yeah.
If I needed a heart transplant and a pig transplant was going to work and there was no human heart available, I'd personally take the pig heart. But suppose I did become infected. Suppose I passed the infection on to my wife. or the person sitting next to me on the metro. What then? Suppose they passed it on again. Now, that possibility is even more remote than me as an individual becoming infected, but it's not entirely impossible. And the consequences of an epidemic arising in that way are, of course, more devastating.
So what does this mean? It means that we're putting people in the general population, your kids, my kids, at risk. We don't know the size of that risk, but we know the risk is there. And it comes down to the question, who gets to decide whether it's proper to put them at risk? And if we put them at risk, under which conditions are we going to put them at risk?
Las plagas se propagan con rapidez en un mundo cada vez más pequeño. Ya algunos gobiernos han manifestado que los beneficiarios de xenotrasplantes deberán aceptar restricciones al viajar, entre otras intrusiones en diversos aspectos de sus vidas privadas.
They'll watch me for the rest of my life because of it.
You have to have this blood work every month for the first 6 months. We have to go to Boston for checkups, and they take blood. And also, we signed papers where Mirabeth is not to have children, and she carries a donor card in case something ever happened to her, that they could perform autopsy to see how the procedure has worked, so that they could do an autopsy. What else? There was
I can't ever donate my organs or my blood anymore because of a pig cells being injected.
Ante la ausencia de suficientes donantes humanos, estas restricciones pudieran parecer inconvenientes menores para alguien cuya vida está en juego. Y puede que no tengamos que esperar mucho tiempo antes de que alguien tenga la oportunidad de tomar esa opción. Estamos en medio de un verdadero esfuerzo por parte de varias compañías para pasar del laboratorio a la clínica, y al parecer sucederá pronto.
The type of clinical trials that we would be considering are either transplanting hearts or kidneys. We would consider doing this in a well-regulated environment. We wouldn't try to do it in a place where xenotransplantation would be allowed because there are no laws. I think it's best to do it where it's well-controlled and regulated. And so that's the next step.
How long will it take? Certainly more than a year. Probably more than 2 years. More than that, perhaps not.
We don't know if a pig kidney will be able to control body fluid levels and blood pressure in the way that a human kidney does. We don't know if a pig heart will maintain the level of blood pressure that the human being requires. The pig is a horizontal animal. The human being is a vertical animal with the brain right at the top, the most important organ. Nobody knows if a pig heart is going to be able to sustain a blood pressure that will support the brain. So this work is rushing ahead. The scientists are focusing on the rejection problem without doing the basic science to find out if those organs will actually support human life.
Pero el empuje por el traslado del laboratorio a la clínica no es solo motivado por preocupaciones humanitarias.
These commercial companies doing this work are forcing the pace, they're forcing the development of this work, they are putting pressure on governments to license the developmental work, they're putting pressure on governments to allow for the first clinical trials. The whole thing is being commercially driven so that companies that are already making big profits are going to make even bigger profits.
Asustados quizás por la reacción del público a los alimentos modificados genéticamente y a la enfermedad de las vacas locas, tiene sentido que estas compañías hagan todo lo posible para controlar las imágenes que informan al debate público sobre los xenotrasplantes. Los críticos de compañías como Immutran piensan que los intereses comerciales se han vuelto más importantes que la preocupación por la seguridad pública.
Immutran has never published full statistics of the number of genetically engineered pigs it's produced, how many of them survived, how many of them were sick. The availability of information to the public and to the scientific community is tightly controlled.
Los xenotrasplantes prometen ser un gran negocio, pero los inversionistas se atemorizan al menor indicio de que algo pueda entorpecer su desarrollo.
We suggested a moratorium only on the clinical xenotransplantation that puts the population at risk until we have a chance to discuss all this, until we basically feel that we know all the facts, there are no big gaps in our knowledge, and we really had the discussion to democratize the decision making.
No existe duda de que declaraciones como esa pueden afectar al mercado, pero una industria joven y controvertida puede ser algo serio. Como en muchos aspectos de la vida moderna, el resultado es, con frecuencia, una maraña de intereses públicos y privados. Immutron trasladó parte de sus investigaciones a la Universidad Canadiense de Guelph. Sin duda era un local atractivo, dadas las décadas de investigaciones especializadas que aquí se han llevado a cabo. Las primeras investigaciones fueron mostradas en estas tomas de un episodio de 1978 del programa de la CBS Science Magazine.
To establish a line of disease-free pigs, first litters have to be born by cesarean section.
Por razones de agricultura que nada tienen que ver con xenotrasplantes, estos científicos habían estado trabajando en la cría de cerdos libres de patógenos.
The margin of profit in farming these days is extremely narrow, so that anything that will increase the efficiency is greatly appreciated. For example, these piglets are completely free of infections that are normally found in farm animals.
Esta investigación sobre el alumbramiento y cría de cerdos en condiciones estériles fue pagado con dinero de los impuestos canadienses.
Completely sterile conditions are maintained. They must not come into contact with their mother in case she carries respiratory or intestinal diseases.
Mientras que la Universidad de Guelph brindó una calurosa bienvenida a nuestro equipo, incluso después de casi 2 años de negociaciones, Immutron decidió que no nos permitirían utilizar imágenes de sus cerdos genéticamente alterados, los cuales, nacidos aquí por cesárea, eran criados en aislamiento.
The umbilical cord is clamped and cut. The piglet is transferred to a sterile bassinet through a V-trough filled with disinfectant.
Parece irónico, para decirlo menos, que Immutron declarara que la versión actual de este programa en una universidad canadiense mantenida con fondos públicos no debía ser transmitida por la televisora pública. En 1978, nadie trató de censurar estas imágenes porque pudieran ser perturbadoras. No hay duda de que las sensibilidades cambian con el tiempo. Algo que no ha cambiado es que aquel que le paga al flautista escoge la canción. Y la realidad de quién controla la investigación y el acceso a ella está cambiando radicalmente en este nuevo mundo, donde las finanzas corporativas pagan por las instituciones públicas. ¿Quién responderá a la difícil interrogante de si los xenotrasplantes son una manera ética de lidiar con la escasez de órganos? ¿Podrán llegar a ser suficientemente seguros? ¿Es hora de pasar del laboratorio a las pruebas clínicas?
I was previously rather opposed to moving from the laboratory to the clinic unless there were long-term survivors of pig to monkey. But I now feel that so much work has been done carefully and conscientiously, and we know what's possible with monkeys, and it seems to me unlikely we're going to get much better with monkeys.
I feel equivocal about it, but I come down on the side of saying that I don't think the dangers are so great that we shouldn't proceed with limited trials. And I think the knowledge we'll gain about human health, about health dangers, about whether it works at all, will take us to the next stage. So I myself would be in favor of going forward cautiously.
Otros investigadores, como Fritz Bach, piensan que las pruebas clínicas son prematuras.
There are two sides to it. One are the little girls, little boys who need a heart transplant, need a kidney transplant, have no other way of living potentially even, which is a very commanding, immediate need. The other side, and all kinds of things in between, is the fact that we're going to add yet one more incremental risk to the public, namely the possibility of this kind of infection in the public. The people who decide this, one, have to represent the public. That is to be their only interest, both the patients and the public in general, to balance altruism against this added risk to our lives. At the same time, those people should have no conflicts of interest.
I think that public debate is all right for information, but as far as transplants from animals to man is concerned, if it's a pig is the donor, if it works, it'll be great and hailed as a wonderful new advance, and if it doesn't work, the people who do it will be castigated as experimental cowboys. So I don't think it matters what the public debate says.
Resulta fácil imaginar que la visión de Sir Roy está informada por memorias de vaqueros y héroes de un tiempo no muy lejano, cuando los trasplantes de humano a humano eran considerados imposibles, inmorales o ambos. Entonces, como ahora, la gloria fue del primero en cruzar la línea de meta.
The heart surgeons were taken aback 30 years ago when it was Christian Barnard in Cape Town who did the first heart transplant. You know. Hey, what's someone doing it in South Africa when we haven't done it in Stanford or Houston, you know? They were very cross about that.
Si no continuamos con los xenotrasplantes, ¿cómo podremos suplir la creciente demanda de órganos? Las opciones son difíciles, cargadas de peligros y esperanzas, con temas que retan nuestro sentido de la ética y nuestro sentido de quién y qué somos.